The lucid dream, located as it is at a crossroads between worlds and states of consciousness, places the magician in a unique position to influence the delicate balance of consciousness and the interplay it has on matter in the waking state, and is thus an opportunity to test one's ability in the art of adjusting the mutable fabric of Maya. In this episode of Exofathom, we round off our conversation about dreams with this subject of lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is the difficultly won ability to be aware in your dreams to the extent that you're able to shape them at will. Many have discussed and detailed the practices in which they are able to achieve such feats. We will be discussing some of the methodologies involved with lucid dreaming and a bit of speculation about why this ability exists.
The program you are about to hear is fiction, science fiction. We make no guarantees, however, how long it will remain fiction, fiction, fiction.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, lucid salutations and welcome to Exofathom, the show that dares to explore the outside reaches of understanding. I am your host once again, Nick, and I am joined by my two lovely co-hosts, Ayla. Hey, Ayla.
Hello.
And I got Mike here. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How you doing?
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining me as always. And thank you guys for listening. Before we start, I want to do a little bit of promo for thinkering.space. There you will be able to not only see this show, but you'll be able to access Thinkering, If Numbers Can Talk, Exofathom, and The Plank with Joe. They are updated each and every time we have an episode, so please be sure to bookmark it in your internet catalog and visit as much as you can, because we're always posting new shows and new content. We have some things in the works, and we're really excited to share it with you guys. But in the meantime, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, please leave us a comment or a like. Let us know how you feel, what you might think. And yeah, so let's just jump right into it, as I like to say. Lucid dreaming. I don't know about you guys, but and I think I was talking to Ayla about this just a minute ago. I don't really have very much experience with lucid dreaming. Do you guys remember a time in which you were able to lucid dream? Or
I am trying to rack my brain, but I don't know that I've ever been able to. I wish I could, though.
I've felt at it a lot.
I think I share that sentiment. Yeah, I've definitely failed at attempting to. I think I can remember a couple times where I've gotten really close, but never like to the point where, you could start to manipulate the world around you. But I do remember at one point, and I can't remember which dream or when, but I did have a dream at one point where I was running, and then all of a sudden I realized that I could like float just above the surface of the ground. So like I would get a running head start, and then kind of like, how kids on Heelys like skate down a street or whatever, like they run and then they hold onto their heels and skate down. Yeah. That's kind of what I was doing, but I was like 6 inches above the ground. And I kept thinking to myself, oh, how cool would it be if I could just fly right now? But I couldn't do it. So I had to, I did fly technically in my dream, but it was only 6 inches from the ground. So
That's something.
It is something. Yeah. Yeah. So, I think it's a fascinating subject, and I know that we're going to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty, and then we're going to, talk about how you might be able to maximize that sort of potential and practices that you can do to, raise your chances of being lucid in your dreams.
I just remembered.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
I did have a lucid dream.
Oh, please indulge us.
It's going to disappoint, but I'll share. I had a dream that I was like there was this beautiful, delicious burger in front of me. I don't know where I was. I don't know any more details. I just remember that there's this burger and I couldn't touch it. And I was really hungry. And all of a sudden, I finally got the will to grab the burger and I'm looking at it and I'm slowly bringing it to my face. And I'm like, I'm going to eat this thing. And then all of a sudden, I open my eyes and there's a pillow in my hands. And I'm still in the dream and I eat the pillow. Like I put it in my mouth and it's like, because it soaks up all the moisture because it's cloth. But there was like a very small moment where in the dream, the rule was that I could not eat the burger and I bent the rule. But then I woke up and ate my pillow.
Yeah. And I think honestly, I think I've had moments like that before where it's like, for some reason, dreams tend to put you within a certain parameter of what you think you can do, or
Right.
like I do definitely sympathize with that because I definitely have dreams where it's like I have to be somewhere and I don't know why, but I just have to be there, or like I can't do something, or so like it's very strange that dreams tend to, for as surreal as they are, they kind of put you in this really weird, rigid parameter structure of what you can and can't do, and it kind of like discombobulates you a little bit. And I think a lot of the reason that I don't lucid dream is because I recognize that sort of like that obstacle as impossible, and so it ejects me from a dream anytime I meet some sort of obstacle. I always nope out of my dreams anytime things get difficult. I'm always like, all right, nope, I'm done, and I wake up and I go back to sleep and I have a new dream. So
It seems like the hard part is just realizing that you're in a dream and that you can break those rules. Because I've definitely had those residual effects of dreams too, where like I was stuck in the parameters, my legs were not working. There's a giant, I don't know, garbage truck chasing after me. And
right.
I wake up in the morning and my legs are sore for some reason, but I couldn't run in the dream at all. And my brain never crossed the bridge of like, yeah, just fly away or something.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because I've actually had instances where I have woken up sore, and I really don't either. I'm like having fist fights in my dreams, or I'm working out in my dreams, but I have definitely woken up with like workout soreness, not just like, oh, I slept kind of weird and I feel stiff, but no, like I felt like I've worked out for a couple hours.
And
I don't know what that
envy.
comes from.
I wish that was as easy. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have to work out in the daytime. You could just set your brain to like work out at night while you're sleeping. You wake up and you got a whole 60-minute cardio session.
I mean,
Amazing.
honestly, they should start marketing that. If they could get a dream gym going on, then
Yes. Dream
I think a
gym.
lot of us would be a lot happier.
It's like a scam. Come on down to the dream gym.
Yeah,
Work out in your sleep.
Yeah, it'll be something you pay $60 a month for and never actually do. So,
Yes.
Have we talked about this? How like the gym is really just a tax. Like you
It
keep
really
paying your gym membership because you're guilty
it's a guilt
that you don't
tax.
go.
It's a total guilt tax. Yeah,
100%.
One of these days I'll go.
I swear I'll go.
Monday. All right. Monday.
not to derail us too much, but I keep getting emails from the gym that I left, and it's like, you should come back. It's better than ever. And I'm like, it wasn't good when I was there, and I don't believe that it's going to be better now. Like,
Right.
yeah.
I'm so sad. I was a member of a UFC gym for a very hot minute. And yes, it's very satisfying to say that you're a member of a UFC gym because you just feel so cool. And I miss it. But yeah, no, I had to cancel that too. Now they're doing like workouts outside in this 100+ heat. So I don't miss that. But whew, gyms.
Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Well, aside from dream gyms and the inability to run away from garbage trucks, have you guys experienced any other lucid moments in your dreams? I am really trying to find more, but I think we'll figure out that it, like Mike said, it is quite difficult and challenging to get to that point. So
Yeah, and I think usually the minute I start to realize I'm in a dream, it's always at the end of the dream. It's always when I'm starting to wake up and I'm trying like and then you try to hold on and like fall back asleep,
Oh, I hate that.
but
Yeah.
the more you
Yeah.
think about it and try, you're just up at that point.
Well,
It's the worst when it's a good dream too, and you're like, oh, let me just go back to that spot, and it never
Yes.
works.
I think I've had like a pseudo lucid dream. Like something happened in the dream where I was supposed to wake up and I didn't, and I just continued on in that dream world. So basically, I was in a car for some reason. A guy runs up, pulls a gun, and just shoots me in the head.
Mm,
Oh, that's pleasant.
All right, and now typically this would wake you up.
typically. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I just walked around with a
bullet in your
my
head?
Yeah, and I knew it the whole time. It was very bizarre, but I don't know if that counts.
I mean, like, I guess it would count, right? Because, you know, that would be something that would eject you from a dream pretty quickly. At least you would think so.
Yeah. And
but
you're
you-
aware that you're defying the laws of like anatomy at that point. Like if
Yeah,
you're
I was
just
like,
walking
I should
around.
be dead. This is it. Why am I still here?
right? What is going on?
But you know what that does remind me of a time that I was quasi lucid dreaming, but I wasn't like okay. So basically, like it was there was like a summer where I was just having zombie dreams every night, zombie dreams. And so one night I remember I was in this like a tow truck yard, and there's all this garbage everywhere, and me and a faction of humans are behind stuff, and there's a bunch of zombies coming up. And normally in the dream I'd be really scared. But then I remembered I'd been here before. Like I prepared for this battle. Not that I was awake or that I knew I was dreaming.
Mm.
I just knew that I was in this situation and I wimped out. So I was ready to take a stand. And so I remember being like super like CIA agent or something. Like I was telling people, okay, you're gonna go this way. You're gonna like I was making plans and I was making sure everyone knew how to use their gun, you know, and I was all ready. And then right before the like climactic fight, I saw a zombie and then I was like, nope, and I woke up. I got really scared. They're scary.
Honestly, I really don't understand why you have dreams that are like movies. All my
'Cause I
dreams are
watch so
so
many
boring.
movies.
I watch a lot of movies too, but I never have dreams like that. like my dreams are like I seriously I still have Starbucks dreams. I still have
Really?
dreams.
no.
I still have work like, but like I'm not
Work
upset
dreams
about
are the
it. Like
worst.
I'm like actually happy about working at Starbucks. I'm like, oh, I
It was a
remember
good
this place. It
time.
was like nostalgia, you know.
Yeah.
But it's so mundane. Like it's so like pedestrian to just dream about like everyday life. And I feel like most of my dreams have been like that. And I think in one of our last conversations, we kind of talked about how environment affects your dreams. And I know Mike was saying that in his dreams, it tends to be a lot of urbanscapes because he lives in the city. And so I was wondering if that has to do with it, because I do remember when I was living up in like the forest, that's when I was having a lot of the alien dreams and a lot of the weird dreams.
Oh yeah.
So I wonder if the environment definitely changes that. And
I mean,
I'm not sure.
It has. I would feel like it plays some part in it, right? Because
Right.
that is the most, like that's the most amount of sensory information your brain has,
Mm-hmm.
and I think
And
it
reference
builds off.
too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it builds off of that. At least in my dream worlds, we seem to build off of reality, so that's where that environment variable plays in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think that's probably it. Although there was at one point I was having dreams where I lived in like this different world entirely. And I was having many reoccurring dreams that like I almost to the point where I was mapping out a whole city, because I was realizing that all of these places I was going in my dreams were interconnected somehow, and they were all on this like basically the same map.
Ooh.
Which was kind of cool, but then I just stopped dreaming of that stuff too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, other world dreams are pretty rad. I remember for a hot minute I was dreaming about a world with two moons.
Mm.
And it was amazing because one of the moons was really close. Like it was almost sitting on top of the planet. So it was big, bright, beautiful. And that meant that the nighttime, everything turned a little like fluorescent-y. It was gorgeous. And like everything was windy. Like, you know, like all the grass was doing the wind thing. And It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it
But I'd
sounds
never been there, so I don't know where that came from.
And I don't know if I want to call it like my dream world, or like a couple episodes back, I brought up this red door that was recurring in dreams.
Hmm.
I'm like my early 20s, and recently it was blown open. But that whole world, there's like different doors going up and down. So it's weird because once you start connecting your dream worlds together, you're gonna need some sort of way to transition between those worlds. Even if you're conscious and you're just daydreaming about these worlds, like
Hmm.
an extended mind palace.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Um, but yeah, no, mine seems to be connected. I hope there's not anything else. I don't know. There probably is.
Well, I like I like that the imagery is a door, right? Because a door is going to be like a portal into something else. So it makes sense that that would be
the
like a
doors
hub
of
for you.
perception.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doors of perception. And there's this it's a little divergent, but there's a if you go to Spotify and type in mirrors of time, there's this guy Brian Weiss, and he does past life regression hypnosis. It's like a 20-minute thing. If you can't fall asleep, put that on. You will be out in 5 minutes, I swear. But one time I was awake and I listened to the whole thing, and one of the things he does is he talks you down into this garden where you're going downstairs, down more stairs, down, 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 down. And then all of a sudden there's a mirror. So for him, it's this mirror that's like acting as a portal. So I think it's interesting that when you do like guided imagery or meditation, or if you're lucid dreaming, there's this concept of like, like a passageway into
Threshold.
something else. Yeah, a
Yeah.
threshold. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those in film, those thresholds, those doors are quite important. Especially how you set up. I guess getting more divergent, but how you set up around the door and things like
Mhm.
that. And so that could the few film classes I took could have been the origin of that imagery in my brain.
Hmm.
Well, and
Yeah.
I won't necessarily tell you how I know this, but when you cross thresholds, it changes the entire energy. You're jumping from one room to another. Each room holds a certain level of ambient energy, and so in maybe sort of heightened states of consciousness, you can realize that when you walk into one room or another, you can feel the energy changes. And I think that the threshold is sort of the facilitator of that change.
Mm. Well, yeah. I mean, even just in your waking day, let's say you were to walk into a funeral home, the vibe of that place is going to like be palpable versus walking into like a Gothic style high ceiling church versus like a little steeple church versus, like just like if you were to take the concept of
Well,
a
I mean,
room.
yeah. You think about it like as a hospital, like if you
Mhm.
walk through the double doors, there's the morgue, and it's like, oh wow. But if you walk through another door, then it's like the newborn babies,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's like a totally different experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. I never really thought about that. Like one building hospital room and you got souls coming and going.
Oh yeah.
Like that's kind of creepy. Are
So-
we building hospitals on portals or something? Like I
Those
just
are the
like
marketplaces.
Yes.
yeah.
Marketplace for
Wow.
souls. Yeah.
That's weird. That's really weird.
Yeah, it's pretty trippy. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little introduction to the concept of lucid dreams as if anybody really needs it. But then in this conversation, I just wanted to bring up a couple interpretations through different cultures. And then we can, break in between them and we can talk a little bit about that stuff. And then at the end, I wanted to show you guys, there's one method that I put down here for practicing lucid dreaming, and it's basically the most well-known method that we'll go over. And then I have a site that I will share with you guys, because I found out like there's this long list of lucid dreaming techniques, and I thought maybe you and Mike and Ayla could pick one, and we'll go through them as a way to wrap it up.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, so let me see. course, having my notes open would be good. A lucid dream is a dream during which the dreamer is aware that they are dreaming. During a lucid dream, the dreamer may gain some amount of control over the dream characters, narrative, and environment. However, this is not actually necessary for a dream to be described as lucid. Oh, interesting. Cool. Lucid dreaming has been studied and reported for many years. Prominent figures from ancient to modern times have been fascinated by lucid dreams and have sought ways to better understand their causes and purposes. Many different theories have emerged as a result of scientific research on the subject and have been shown in pop culture. Further development in psychological research have pointed to ways in which this forming of dreaming may be utilized as a form of sleep therapy. Well, that's kind of cool. And let's see. I wanted to point out that they mentioned that. Okay, so I guess as the lucid dreaming goes for the technical definition, you don't necessarily have to take control over your dream. So in that respect, I guess we all do lucid dream, right? So we're talking about little ways in which we were aware that we were in some sort of altered state. So you have lucid dream daily.
I guess I have. Well, you know what? Okay, have any of you been put under by your dentist?
No, I've never gone under at all. So actually,
Really?
I have in a dream, and I'll share it with after we answer your question.
That's really creepy. Well, you, Mike?
I don't think I have either.
Neither of you been under anesthesia?
No, that's scary.
Okay. Oh, dude, I've been under like too many times, but well, like two. But one time, no, because I had a lot of teeth ripped out as a kid because I had braces, so it was just like all the time. But
man, you must have went to an awesome dentist. I got like when they pulled my teeth, I got Novocaine. That was it.
You told me that I would die. I there's no. There's no
what
way.
I got too was Novocaine for pulling like my front 4 teeth.
Me too.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, then my dentist was incredible because, I think because in one of them, they were pulling 4 of my back molars because I have a really small jaw and it can't hold all the teeth that a normal human would have. So they had to like rip out some juicy molars or something. So I don't know, maybe it was like complicated, but.
Well, if they have to go inside the jaw itself, then yeah, probably. If the molars hadn't broken past the gums.
I don't think they did. Not yet.
So that means that it would have to have gone into the gums. Yeah. So obviously you.
Oh, fun. It was awful. But the funnest part was that so I was on the table and the nurse was gonna I guess they inject you with something and then they put the mask on you. And I was a kid and I was scared. So she was holding my hand and she put the mask on. She's like, count backwards. And so I'm doing the counting. And then she let go of my hand before I was fully under. And I distinctly remember like falling into a dark void. And so it was like kind of cool because, if that's part of like lucid dreaming in a way, because you're like aware that you're going somewhere, but you're not. Yeah. And that was really trippy. I don't know if you've fallen in a void before. It is not fun.
Oh, yeah.
I have some arguments. I have an argument or 20,000. It seems like there's like you either become the passenger in these lucid dreams or the driver of these dreams.
Good point.
Yeah, and you can either notice the scenery or not. So if you're so you can be a little bit lucid as the passenger and take in the scenery and kind of like go with the flow, or you could just be asleep. Not really understand. But as you said, going into the anesthesia, I have never been under, but I have actually been under in a dream, which is very strange.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's like triple dreaming.
Oh, it was Inception for sure. So I'll tell it really briefly because I don't want to take up too much of the conversation, but it was one of those situations where I think this was also an alien dream. I was laying in a white room on a slab on my side, and then there were figures over me, obviously a bright, brilliant white light, and they were cutting into my neck.
Oh my God.
And before they cut into my neck, they obviously put the mask over me. And then I started to lose my vision in my dream. And then all of a sudden, like you said, Ayla, it went to like a dark void. And all I could hear like people talking in the void, but I could only see, like I kind of talked about in the last dream that I shared with you guys, that sort of like globular plasma thing, that the alien technology that I stole. It was it was very similar to that, in which it was like this globular plasma that was iridescent and changing colors, and it was kind of like moving with the voices that I was hearing, but I couldn't really make sense of what the voices were saying. It was really bizarre. But yeah, luckily I woke up from that one, because honestly I didn't think I was going to. So
Yeah.
Jeez,
That's creepy. Plus, this whole concept of falling into a void, like I just wonder if it's almost as if it's your brain being like, okay, we're going to shut off now. But you're kind of just aware of it a little bit. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I think it kind of like, it reminds me, at least when we had our first episode on dreams, I shared with you guys the dream that I had. My first reoccurring dream as a child was being in a dark void and hearing heartbeat that was slow and low, and then it would crescendo with this really loud sound, and I would always wake up in cold sweats crying. It was very, very strange.
Are you sure those weren't like womb dreams? Because like maybe it wasn't a cold sweat.
I mean, it's possible. Maybe I was like remembering something in the womb. I have no idea. But yeah.
That's kind of creepy. Could you imagine it?
Super creepy.
You creepy baby.
Yeah, I know. It was a very quiet, contemplative baby. So yeah, I might have seen some shit. All right.
I'm just thinking of like a really hard baby, like.
Yeah, no, I wasn't like a mean mugging baby. I was just very off in my own little world,
Okay,
like,
got it.
Imagining like a baby, like the Vietnam vet coming out. Like, you don't know what I've seen.
Just helicopters going off in his head, like 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, starts playing.
Lights a cigarette.
Yeah. Oh man,
how'd you sneak those in there? You don't want to know.
That's right. Okay, so I wanted to thank you for the laughs. That was pretty funny. So I wanted to bring up lucid dreaming in culture and sort of history, and I have a few examples here from, let's see, I have the Hinduism and Buddhism angle, and then I have sort of a Western angle, and then Greek and Islam. And then we want to talk a little bit about how the Dark Ages kind of messed all of this up for us. So let's start off with in the cultures and Hinduism and Buddhism, what they say about lucid dreams. And here we go. Pardon me, guys. The first known textual description of lucid dreaming dates to before 1000 BCE from the Upanishads, the Hindu oral tradition of spiritual lessons, philosophy, and proverbs. The Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is another ancient Hindu tract that describes how best to direct consciousness within the dream and vision states of sleep. In the early centuries, Indian influence spread to the mountainous region of Tibet, where animistic traditions of Bonpo maintains that lucid dreaming has been used in their meditations for over 12,000 years. Holy moly. Wow, that's a really long time. Okay, so the textual legacy that has survived the cultural fusion of this shamanic practice with Buddhism is the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Conservatively dated to the 8th century, The partial translation of this esoteric track in 1935 by Walter Y. Evans Wentz was the first time a Western audience, primarily historians and occultists, learned of these ancient practices. These ancient dream practices later influenced dream scholars in the 20th century, especially in the humanistic and transpersonal schools of American psychology. Well, first of all, 12,000 years of practicing and observing lucid dreaming is incredible. I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, like, what was going on 12,000 years ago? A whole lot of nothing. I'm sure you had a lot of time to dream.
But even your dreaming, like, what would you be dreaming about? More nothing?
I mean, yeah, no, not necessarily, because a lot of these people were dreaming of gods. A lot of these people were dreaming of. I mean, so it's going to get into this a little bit, and it hints at it a little bit. But a lot of religion is based on dreams. And it's kind of incredible how that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking about Joan of Arc the other day. I'm not going to say why, but you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And, I guess that was more of like hearing a voice during the day. But I mean, either way, it's that idea that, because if you're lucid dreaming, that means that your psyche's taking control over the dream versus some other entity gifting you that dream, right? There's like a tension there. Right. So I think it's interesting though, because here you don't have just these deities gifting dreams. People are somehow like interacting with them.
Well, maybe not necessarily interacting, but receiving messages. I think a lot of it is like message receiving, and I would love to do an episode on the Book of the Dead at some point, because it's been so integral in occultism and spirituality that I really want to like give it a good.
Oh, did he drop out?
I think.
Who did?
Oh no, you just cut out there.
Oh, I cut out?
Yeah, like at the juiciest part where you're like, I'm about to reveal the mysteries of the universe, and...
Apologies, everybody. It could be my internet, so I do apologize. Where did I drop out at?
You're talking about the occult and the Tibetan Book of the Dead, then some sort of linkage between them.
Well, yeah. So I think the Tibetan Book of the Dead helped spark the occult sort of craze back in the early 1900s. But then we also had like the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are really important to history, and then things like the Magna Carta. So I definitely want to give that a read at some point. So maybe we can do an episode on that.
Definitely.
Yeah. There's a film called Enter the Void, talking about voids. That's all about the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And it's sort of extension into hallucinogenics like DMT, and it's a good watch. The first half an hour, there's a cinematic gimmick, I suppose, that gets a little hard to watch, but once you get in sync with it, it's well worth the experience.
Yeah, I've heard about that movie so many times. I'll actually have to sit down and watch it someday.
What's it? It's just called Into the Void, and not the Ice Climber. The Void.
Enter, the Void.
Oh, Enter the Void. Okay, interesting. Well, did either of you ever see the movie Samsara?
Samsara.
Yeah. It's
no,
like
but I remember seeing the commercials for it.
Yeah, that was a really trippy movie too. Because you're just talking about like cinematic gimmicks and stuff like that. Not that it's a gimmick, but it is kind of an interesting film with just kind of the way it shows.
I think that was one of the first movies to use like red cameras, right? Or like 4K. I remember that like it was a big thing because of all the detail that they were able to capture with the cameras.
Yeah, there's something with it. Fun fact, I don't know if it's fun, but I was watching that film right before I got the phone call that my brother was dying. And I think that's kind of trippy because it was all about this portal and like, the universe and stuff. And then for like that transition to happen so suddenly, I don't know. some spooky stuff out there, guys.
Super spooky.
Super spooky.
All right, so let me continue on just a little bit here. In the West, the concept of lucid dreams is almost as old as Western letters itself. In general, dreams have a privileged position in the foundations of Greek philosophy. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle all addressed their inquiries into the nature of reality to our nightly journeys. Lucid dreams were first clearly described by Aristotle in 350 BC in his treatise on dreams. Aristotle writes, quote, "When one is asleep, there is something in consciousness which tells us that what presents itself is but a dream." I think, well, there we go. I mean, we were talking about just that, right?
Yeah.
Most of our lucidity is understanding that we're actually in a dreamscape.
Yep.
Totally.
And then basically, how do you get past that? Like Mike said, like, how do you get past that sort of blockade? And once you get past that, then you basically have, limitless potential.
Right.
I have. Go for it, Ayla.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just trying to think about like Aristotle, what he might have been thinking, but it's not important.
I wonder what the Greeks would think about active lucid dreamers, because it seems like the people I talk to, the more experience you have in it, the easier it is to kind of get into that headspace, but you also can fall out of it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like meditation in a way, where it's like, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely have had points where I try to get back into meditation after not doing it for a very long time, and it's quite frustrating. Because it's probably most likely like a muscle, right? The more practice you have at it, the better you can get at it. But then it has diminishing returns. So it's like if you do not continue at it, you will lose that muscle very quickly.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that's probable for sure. Okay, so then this brings us into the classic Greek and Islamic interpretation of dreams and lucid dreams. Let's see. A few centuries later, in 415 AD, the first lucid dream was reported. Lucid dream report was recorded from one of St. Augustine's patients. Lucid dreaming may have played an integral part of the history of Islam. Muhammad's, and pardon me because I don't speak Arabic, Laylat al-Miraj is an account of a nightmare vision that provided him with spiritual initiation. The 12th century Spanish Sufi Ibn al-Arabi suggested that controlling thought in dreams is an essential ability for aspiring mystics. So this kind of brings us into the whole religion of it all, right? And
religion of it all.
I honestly didn't know, and I probably should because I have Muslim family, that Muhammad's sort of quest started with a dream. But that makes a lot of sense because a lot of the hero archetype and the Messiah archetype has a dream initiation. And then you can even think of like in the Native American context of a vision quest, right? Wanting to lift the veil between the human and spiritual world to be called to action, to be confronted, to be put to the test and then come out victorious sort of thing.
Well, I think it's interesting that they have the term spiritual initiation, because I was just reading this book the other day. It's called Belonging by Toko Pa. And she just talks about how, trying to think of the shortest way to get into this, but basically anyone you look up to as being wise, right? So spiritually wise, or they've gone through stuff and they're wise because of experience, there was a initiation to attain that, being some sort of hardship or challenge that's cultivating that spiritual strength to press on when there seems to be no hope or something like that.
Yeah, it's the hero's journey. It's a part of the hero's journey.
Exactly. And so it's just interesting to like read her stuff and then to read this. And then, like you were saying, how that's so often that little theme where, to become wise, there's that initiation factor. And for it to start off with a dream in this instance, a nightmare vision is kind of interesting to me.
Hmm. Yeah, well, and I think that ultimately, like, if you were to make contact with the other side, it might not always be a very good dream, you know?
Especially those older gods, they're
Oh,
creepy. Like,
yeah. Old
I mean, like,
Testament
not
gods
like to judge, yeah, but I mean, if I see something with a whole bunch of faces, I'm gonna call that a nightmare. I don't know.
Yeah. And, the pre-Enlightenment gods were definitely brutal, which actually is a cute little Easter egg for our next episode. We will let you know about what that is at the end of this episode.
Keep listening.
That's right. Got to hook them. So yeah, I just thought that was really interesting how it kind of like the dream almost sparks. I mean, like they're so powerful that they can spark entire world movements. If you think about it, like wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
Mm,
One
Even
person's dream.
yeah, one dream.
even look at like the more modern use of the word dream. It's like Higgs dreaming of becoming pro athletes.
Mhm.
That's not a reality in the moment, and it initiates itself in the dream that ends up lasting well into their maybe their whole life, but
Yep.
at least into their 20s and 30s for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's smart.
I just had to let go of the dream of becoming Indiana Jones. It was really not that easy.
Never let go of that dream. What are you doing, sir?
You know,
Here, I'll take that from
Sad
you.
Sunday.
I realized I didn't want to be an archaeologist. I just wanted to run around the jungle and look for treasure.
Wait, Indy's an archaeologist?
Oh yeah. He was an archaeologist back when they were like renegades, and they were like going into King Tut's tomb and stuff.
You said renegade.
getting curses and stuff.
Amazing.
It was so cool. Okay, so continuing on with the Middle Eastern tradition, 300 years later, that would be later after the 12th century, Sufi mystic, here we go again, Shamsuddin Lahiji recorded an inspiring night vision of the heavens that also may have been a lucid dream experience. Due to cultural and historical differences between the distinctions of visions and dreams, it is impossible to know for sure if this account, as well as Muhammad's, occurred during dream or sleep or vision states, but they certainly were lucid. So yeah, I guess they're trying to basically say like, okay, well, we don't know if their dreams were like daydreams or if they were actually sleeping, but either way, it was sort of like this weird half in, half out experience of like being 1 foot in the real world, 1 foot in the spirit world.
And isn't it interesting how we're comfortable if it's a dream because you're in a dream state, you're sleeping. We all accept that to be like, yeah, you had a dream, we got it. But if you have a vision, it's like, well, are you hallucinating? Are you crazy? Are you just daydreaming? Right. And, like for the Sufi mystic, I know that there's also like a legacy of the whirling dervishes where they would dance and these visions would come to them. And so
dance to exhaustion.
Yeah, exactly. And to that point where all of a sudden these visions are coming to them. And that's a long tradition in a lot of cultures. They have that push you to exhaustion, so just to evoke something. And I just still think it's funny. We accept everybody dreams, we get it. When it comes to visions, that's still that like gray area where we're like, I don't know, could just be making it up.
Right. You could just be crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we all kind of have an idea of what happens when we have a dream. Like you were saying, Ayla, like fell asleep, you had a dream. But if you say you have a vision, no one really knows what's happening while you're having that vision.
Maybe it's because not everybody has them, so they don't feel like they don't know what it's about. So they're like, "What?"
Yeah,
it's left out.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of relate. Hard to relate to the experience.
No, that's true. There is something to note with sleep deprivation and exhaustion with kind of getting a vision like state or get into a vision-like state.
Leave it to the coder to say that. All right,
Uh,
Neo, let's go.
and in my time dealing with sleep deprivation, you definitely get a feeling like there's some sort of fabric on you, and you can kind of like everything has this little fabric on it, and you can touch and you actually feel it. It's a tactile feeling, and the longer you stay in this sort of sleepless state, the more you are able to entertain the idea of visions.
Right. Well, it's also a good way to go absolutely crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Lack of sleep can just literally drive you insane. So
Gosh, do you remember when we moved into this house and like I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks? I don't know what it was. It was too quiet. I've always slept off of like a high, like there's just always background noise in this city, but we're like in the suburbs now, and it's just really quiet at night. And when we first moved in,
God forbid
Yeah.
there isn't a semi truck
Silent.
driving by all the time.
yeah, no, I mean, I got used to like, the guy crashing his car at 4 a.m. being drunk and all the commotion. Like that was soothing to me, and to have absolute quiet, I couldn't sleep. And I know what you're talking about. I don't know if I'd call it a fabric as much as I'd call it like you could fall asleep at any minute. So, and you probably do like fall in and out of sleep, like you're just always kind of nodding off. So in that regard, like nothing really seems, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real, you're awake, but there's also this sense where like maybe your body is awake and moving around, but your brain is definitely asleep. Like you're sleepwalking basically.
What I'm intrigued by though is that like there's an added component to reality that was not there when you are not sleep deprived, and that I think is the intriguing thing. And it does facilitate visions or just exhausted imagination.
Right. For sure. Well, and before we move on, shout out to Shamsadin Lahiji. I know your descendant, and he's a good person. And I'm gonna, when next time I see him, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, did you know that your like great whatever was a Sufi mystic?" He was also a poet, apparently. I did a little bit of digging on it. The Lahiji family line, and apparently comes from a family of poets. So,
how interesting! He does talk a lot, so
yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, seriously.
Oh wait, didn't he give you that book of like Persian kings or Iranian kings or something like that?
It's called the Shahnameh.
The Shahnameh. That's
which
cool.
Is the name or the king's names. That's what it is.
I love it.
That's a very cool book. Okay, so now we're going to get into kind of like how in modernity, and maybe an explanation as to why we lost so much during the Dark Ages. So apparently during the Dark Ages, the concept of lucid dreaming was the devil. And let's see, despite the strong classic beginnings, the study of lucid dreaming became stifled by the dominant religious atmosphere after the rise of Imperial Rome. Judeo-Christian culture came to hold a suspicion about dreams, as theologians opined that some dreams had access to higher truths, but others were false. In the Middle Ages, Thomas Aquinas reinforced this opinion, suggesting that some dreams came from demons. After this warning on high, the Christian West's concern with dreams lay dormant for centuries, and lucid dreaming went underground. This misconception of dreams is probably the single greatest reason why the Western culture still ignores dreams, and why many superstitions about dreams persist. In many Christian cultures today, for instance, lucid dreaming is still associated with Satanism and witchcraft. Well, I think we can blame a lot of things on the Dark Ages, and like it seemed to be a really rough time in Europe at that moment. But I think it's interesting that we still kind of we're still kind of suffering some of the repercussions of losing dream interpretation and not really valuing dreams. And it's I mean, like, it kind of makes sense to me, because it seems to me like they're painting this parameter of like, oh well, don't go having dreams because they're demons, and only the priests can dream and interpret their dream, speak to God through their dreams. And it was kind of like, obviously it's sort of like a dream gatekeeping, if you will.
Oh yeah. Well, the idea of like manifest destiny, like only those chosen by God, which of course men decide, get to, you know what I mean? Like I mean, I guess it's like that hypocrisy, where it's like, well, no, you guys can't do it. That's the devil, but we can, because we've got a little group over here. And
well, the priest class loves to gatekeep. They've always done it. I mean, even in ancient Egypt, the priests were gatekeeping the information, So.
Yeah. Well, and I found this hilarious meme today. I have to share it because I was cracking up. So there's this like Facebook account, and it's a bunch of like natives together. And one of them posted, after stealing our land, wealth, people, and heritage, Europeans gave us a book that says, "Thou shalt not steal." Maybe that's just the bitter native in me, but I I just thought that was funny because, again, here people are dreaming, they're chilling, they have their vision quests, everything's cool, and then these guys come in and all this stuff happens, and then it's like the kibosh is put on it. Nobody can do it but these few. And it is still alive today in the sense that, like, we can talk about dreams but not visions. They're separate.
There's there's definitely a lot of like Inquisition style thoughts now that are left over from the Dark Ages. Like even getting the idea of like the old hag or anything like that. But it seems like a bastardization of like shamans and spiritual people, where the shaman in this case is just the aesthetic priest class. Like you can kind of get into actual genealogy of morality. Nietzsche's work on the master-slave dichotomy. A couple episodes ago, I tried to talk about it, but I was actually talking about birth of tragedy. Anyways, that master-slave complex where you have this master as the priest pointing down to like the individual and telling like, no, those are brought on by demons. Your visions are not worthy. Whereas I think in a more spiritual culture, you would have these ideas being passed back and forth and being interpreted by the shaman to the person in a constructive way.
Yeah, I think I heard it best when somebody said the difference between a good religion and a bad religion is one looks up and the other looks down. And I think that kind of perfectly encapsulates the philosophy I have about religion. I appreciate religion a lot, but I don't necessarily like religions that look down.
I like that.
And, like looking down on the people, looking down on whatever, everything is sin, everything is evil. I like religions that kind of lift and look up and, like you're saying, share the information and share the spirituality amongst its community and not keep it within the clergy.
Yeah. Like even the first commandment of like, thou shalt not pray to any other god, or no false idols, or something like that.
No false idols. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a caste of people that are willing to just behave in that way of dismissing any sort of visions or dreams or anything outside of what is norm.
Certainly. Yeah. And I think it was an overcorrection of society. And I think, because there's certain wiggle room between those concepts. And obviously this isn't a biblical discussion, so I won't go too deep into it. But I think the concept of not worshiping false idols isn't something that we should throw out necessarily, because it's
Instagram.
Well, yeah, that's exactly my point. It's proven that that's actually a pretty good moral compass. And it's not to necessarily say that you have to only believe in that particular God, but it's this concept that like, don't idolize the things that aren't important and aren't the truth and aren't, holistic and beneficial. And I think that that's something that, I think we can look at even in today and say, hey, maybe we should stop, idolizing false gods, whether it's Instagram or, Google or whatever.
Well, we were talking about this weekend, and I should backpedal too. Sorry if I offended anybody with that little funny meme that I found funny. My mother was kidnapped by missionaries as a
Oh, yeah, well,
child.
you don't need to dig it deeper there.
I'm
Like,
just saying, I just want to lay that foundation. But, you know, I know that it's also very powerful for a lot of people, you know, the hope that it gives, a sense of community. And we were talking about this the other day. The 10 Commandments still kind of hold up. Like, yeah, you shouldn't steal. You shouldn't be greedy and sit around and like be lazy. You know what I mean? Like, if you've kind
yeah.
of adhere to those are pretty good rules of thumb.
It's a distillation of concepts that, like, my concept of it is that these were lessons and teachings that basically we've been teaching and telling each other for thousands of years before the whole event of the Bible anyways, and it just becomes distillized and adapted over time to fit the
Yeah.
modern era, you know.
Yeah, totally.
So
But it is interesting the way that you were saying, Mike, about like the class system of, like, you know, you have the keepers of the knowledge, you know, and I only say that because I was watching the Da Vinci Code the other day, and the idea of like having all the what is it, like the Vatican has all these secret vaults that nobody gets to have access to. I mean, like, how much would you love to just go into a vault and just see what's in there? Like, I'm super curious.
I want to see the Vatican's library for sure.
That would be
They
amazing.
So bad.
Yeah.
they have everything. They have everything. They have remnants from the Library of Alexandria. For
Really?
sure. Oh yeah, absolutely they do. Yeah. It would be incredible to see what they have down there, but if only the Pope can see it. So
I like our
Holiest
current
of
Pope.
us,
It's nice.
of us all.
okay, so that kind of gave us a little bit of history and a little bit of background about lucid dreams and how it's kind of interpreted in our society and culture. We want to move on to methods in which we can maybe perhaps enhance our ability to lucid dream.
Yeah.
And the first topic that I had for you guys, and I don't know if you're exactly aware of it, it's actually something I practice every night and didn't really understand that I was practicing it, but and I actually had to coin this term because I couldn't really find it, but I call it hypnagogic observing. And so hypnagogia, also referred to as hypnagogic hallucinations, is the experience of a transitional state from wakefulness to sleep, the hypnagogic state of consciousness during the onset of sleep. The opposite transitional state from the sleep into wakefulness is described as hypnopompic. Mental phenomena that may occur during this threshold of consciousness. And it goes on to say, among the more commonly reported and more thoroughly researched sensory features of hypnagogia are phosphenes, which can manifest as seemingly random speckles, lines, geometrical patterns, including form constants, or as a figurative representational images. They may be monochromatic or richly colored, still or moving, flat or three-dimensional, offering an impression of perspective. Imagery representing movement through tunnels of light is also reported. Individual images are typically fleeting and give very rapid changes. They are said to differ from dreams proper in that hypnagogic imagery is usually static and lacking in narrative or content. Although others understand the state rather as a gradual transition from hypnagogia to fragmentary dreams. And so before I kind of dive deeper into this, I want to bring up how this could possibly fit into helping you lucid dream. And I couldn't find where I read this. And so you're just going to have to take my word for it, folks. But I was reading about hypnagogia, and it was something that I didn't understand. And then I started to experience it more and more. And so I started looking it up. And there's ways to hack it, which is kind of cool. And so there's the ability to kind of zoom in on an image and then enter that space. So like Mike was talking about the doors of, perception and walking through the threshold. Think of hypnagogia as the door. It's the threshold into the dream world. And so let me not bury the lead and maybe get your guys's opinion. But when I experience hypnagogic hallucination, it's usually when I'm lying in bed, right before I'm about to go to sleep, when my body completely relaxes and you have your eyes closed, do you ever see color or images on the inside of your eyelids?
Oh boy. Halo, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I see hallucinations per se. I'm either listening to Brian Weiss's Mirrors of Time, which is amazing, and that's what I usually fall asleep to. If not, I just have my eyes closed.
Well, let me give you an
And
example of what I'm talking about, so you might have a reference, because you might be doing it and not even realize it. So,
okay,
in my perspective, for me personally, my experience is when I am entering hypnagogic hallucination is I see a blue mist in front of my eyelids that starts to swirl and change, and that blue mist becomes images, and it can be anything. I mean, like it's sometimes it's the most random things you can think of. Like I
uh-huh.
keep trying to want to write down the things I see in hypnagogia,
Yeah.
but it's almost like a hodgepodge of your brain. And so it's like the best I could think about is like I think I remember like SpongeBob SquarePants on a fire truck on top of a hot dog. You know, like things like that. Like
Nice.
that's the closest I could remember to an image of hypnagogia, but it always accompanies, and for, you know, when it mentions the idea of phosphenes, that's what that is. It's that, for me, it's a blue mist that swirls around. And for other people, it could be geometric patterns. It could be, you know, just colors. It could be something. But for me, it's always a blue kind of smoky mist that changes and swirls and then turns into images.
Yeah, no, that's that. I don't remember falling asleep ever. It's always like I'm conscious and then I wake up the next morning having dreamed about stuff, but I've never been able to remember the act of like drifting into sleep. It's like my
Yeah.
mind gets erased.
Well, you should try it. Pay a little bit more attention to the moments you feel like you're about to get there, and see if you can start to see things in your mind's eye, you know?
I've totally tried. Like I said, whenever I do try, it's this Brian Weiss thing, and he's doing imagery, so I'm visualizing things as he's walking through it, and then, but it's not actual
No.
visualizing. But
No. You need to stop using other people to,
Yeah,
no,
crutch.
but
to
that's
dictate your dream experience, Ailey.
I
This is
guess.
something that you can do on your own without any Brian Weiss or whatever.
No,
Be the
because then
Brian
I just
Weiss
think
to
about
yourself.
all the stuff I have to do. I can't do it on my own. I just get way too like I just end up getting up and working, finishing it, and then 3 a.m. I'm in bed. So it's Brian Weiss or nothing. Little Mike.
Yeah. So where do I even begin?
have
So it's always been hard for me to sleep throughout my whole life. I think like the first time I heard someone tell me what meditation was, I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing that, trying to fall asleep when I was a kid. And so I would enter into those hypergogic states. And now what I see depends on if I am having a bit more of like a spiritual experience, I guess, falling asleep, like actively thinking still about stuff. And a lot of that comes with there are halos or X's that point up towards an eye. And the eye is kind of swirling a little bit, but it's an eye shape nonetheless. And then if I am not focused on anything, or I'm not trying to write, I'm not trying to code, I'm not trying to do anything, I actually end up watching somebody else's YouTube videos. So like I see an arm that isn't my arm, and then they're looking at a phone, and it's obvious it's a phone, and then I see the moving images, but it comes out more like an impressionist painting on the back of my mind's eye, or the back of my eyeballs.
Yeah.
And it moves, but yeah, and then I fall asleep.
You know what it's kind of like, Ayla? It's kind of like, you know, those 3D sort of like, what are they called? Like what were those books called? Secret Eye, or what the hell are they called? The ones. No, like, you know, remember those books that were like, you know, the 3D image, but it's like
where you
printed
stare
all
at
weird.
it,
Yeah. But you have to like stare past it in order to actually see the image.
Morax.
Is
Yeah,
that what that is?
it's
No, I
basically,
think it's in a Morax about it.
yeah, that's right.
A bunch of scenes.
Yeah,
It's a sailboat.
that's right. Yeah, but I think it is kind of like that, at least for me. Like I've had those moments, like I have to really relax my eyes. And then for me, most of the time it comes when I'm like totally emptying my mind. That's why I get very strange images, because it's just like my brain is just like opening the floodgates. And actually, and interestingly enough, you can get auditory hallucination with this as well. And one time I actually saw somebody get shot in the street. Yeah. And it was quite frightening, because like it jolted me with the gunshot, jolted me out of sleep. And I swear to you, I heard it like I'm hearing your guys' voices now. Like it sounded so real. Yeah.
Could you not hitchhike into my dreams, please? That'd be fantastic.
Meanwhile, little Mike's like, you saw me get shot in the head and you just walked away and went to bed.
You didn't even tell me I was in a dream.
I'm over here eating a hamburger / pillow. You guys are having these intense like crossover dreams. I love it. But no, I'm looking at the 3D art. The only thing I can say.
Oh, they're called Magic Eye.
Magic Eye pictures, or stereogram.
Oh, okay.
That's what they also call it. The only thing I remember is maybe I had something like that as a kid, because I remember at one point and this is terrible, and I was a really dumb kid, but I realized that like if I took my palms and pressed them into my eyes really hard, I would see space, which is basically just like your eye, like
putting pressure on your eyeball.
Putting pressure on your eye.
Yeah. It's like when you get punched, you see stars. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do the same thing. Yeah.
Did you do it too? Yeah. And so, but I don't know what like made me want to do it. Like, did I maybe see that falling asleep and was like, oh, this is how I'm going to recreate it. But yeah, I'll have to try that tonight. I'll sans the Brian Weiss and I'll try to vision.
Mm-hmm. It's probably like the 10 minutes before you're actually going to be fully asleep.
Okay, but question, because I have my eyes closed right now and I can already see like blue and I see a bunch of dots.
Well, that's probably from the screen that you were just staring at. So
yeah, but is that what you see? Like just like
no, baby, like it has to be once your eyes are fully relaxed.
Pretty relaxed.
Computer screen. But you guys at home should try this if you want to, because there is a hack to this, and if you get good at it, you can actually, and it's happened to me only a couple times, you can actually choose your dreamscape with this process. So what hypnagogia, I think, is the basically like the threshold, like we talked about. It's the threshold into the dream world. And what's cool about it is that if you get yourself into that state, you can then manifest the sort of dreamscape that you want to see, and you'll start to envision it, and then you can kind of like zoom in on that and enter that world. And I've had that happen at least 1 or 2 times.
When you're doing it, are you focusing in on something, or are you trying to make your eyes like not focus?
Relaxed as possible.
What if I freeze my eyes? Like if I put a cold pack, would that help? Have you tried that?
No, see,
because it would make them numb and they wouldn't.
Don't worry about that.
How do I make being relaxed as complicated as possible?
I can't do it.
I would say first empty your mind. Any thoughts that you have, any voices that are telling you, like I should do, just go shh and push them out. Imagine you're pushing out the sound of your own voice in your head. Push it away. And then start, if you visualize anything, try to get back to looking at the inside of your brain. Don't try to...
You have a pretty soothing voice. Can I just hire you to talk me to bed? See, again with the Brian Weiss thing.
Are you telling me I could sell like an ASMR series? I would totally sell an ASMR series.
Oh, you could. Give me one sentence.
We could put that behind a paywall for Exofathom.
Oh, my OnlyFans. Go for it, Nick.
Yeah. Oh man, that's amazing.
Sleep.
Yeah.
That was good.
You're feeling very sleepy now.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah, I
There's a-
feel really relaxed,
There's
guys.
a whole
Keep it up.
NPR element.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. NPR voice is important. I'm still trying to work on mine.
The guy on Parks and Recreations is so good at that voice.
Dury Myrbles. Yeah. Thought for your thoughts. I'm Dury Myrbles.
And now we can hear jazz.
Jazz plus jazz equals jazz.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
Oh boy, we're getting a little silly. Okay, so you know what? This is going off the rails, so I want to just do one other test that we can do, and that's called reality testing. This is probably the most known way to kind of help maximize your lucid dream abilities. And this is something that you do in your waking time. So reality testing or reality checking is a form of mental training. It increases metacognition by training your mind to notice your own awareness, which is actually kind of cool. We probably should be doing that, not even just for dreams. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. It says your level of metacognition is similar in your waking and dream states. So higher metacognition when you're awake could lead to higher metacognition when you're dreaming. This may be related to the brain's prefrontal cortex, which plays a role in both reality testing and lucid dreaming. To enhance your metacognition, you can do reality tests while you're awake. For reality testing, follow these steps several times a day. You can ask yourself, am I dreaming? So that would be just going out throughout your day and once every couple hours, ask yourself if you're dreaming. You can check your environment to confirm whether or not you're dreaming. You can notice your own consciousness and how you're engaging with your surroundings. You can set an alarm every 2 to 3 hours to remind yourself to do a reality check. Here are some common reality checks that people use to lucid dream. All right. So mirrors. Check your reflection to see if it looks normal. Man, could you imagine if you looked in the mirror and all of a sudden you were somebody else?
Yeah.
that'd be so freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Yeah. Let's see. Solid objects. Pushing your hand against a wall or table and see if it goes through. Some people push their fingers into the opposite palm. Okay, so yeah, you just push your finger in. So you're just trying to make sure you're still solid. Let's see. And
that's gonna feel weird though. Like, am I dreaming?
Yeah.
Push
Let me just poke my hand real quick.
Yeah, it just goes right through.
Don't mind me, guys.
Yeah. This is one I've done before, and it's time. It's if you're dreaming, the clock will always change, which I think is so fascinating. But if you're awake, time will obviously not change. So looking at a clock can help with lucid dreaming, because I've noticed it too, and it's interesting because time and letters. So those two things are always confounded in dreams, which is, I think, really interesting. It almost feels like dreams exist outside of time and verbal conception. You know?
I could see that. Where language breaks down, complex ideas like time break down, kind of in that base dream state.
Yeah, I've always thought that was very strange, because I do remember trying to read in dreams, and obviously anytime you look at something, when you look at it again, it's totally changed and it's not the same thing that you read a second ago.
Yeah.
This might be my dyslexia speaking, but you just don't have that in general. Like, you just don't read a paragraph and be like, I'm sure I didn't read that.
Oh, well, I've definitely read things and been like, what have I just read? Yeah.
It doesn't just change.
Yeah. It doesn't change. It just means my brain is crappy.
Yeah. Got you there.
Yeah. So have you guys ever tried with the reality checking, or do you have any other ideas as far as what you could do to reality check?
Well, one of my coworkers, she would always talk about wanting to get a tattoo on her finger that said, am I dreaming? Or like on her foot or something, so that she could always be reminded of it. And I thought that was kind of a cool way to force that activity. But sometimes I think about it like, we've been talking about lucid dreaming here, or if it comes up for the next couple of days, I might be better about it.
Mhm.
But usually if I'm thinking like, am I dreaming? My like litmus test is just like reality, like touching stuff, making sure
Right.
like, oh yeah, no, this is real.
Tactile. Right.
Tactile, yeah.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. I think that probably would help. I mean, I can't remember though. Like, I don't know if I touch things in my dreams. I'm gonna have to pay attention to that now because, like, I'm trying to think about it. Like, I don't know, like, except for stealing that alien thing.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
if I'm like
interesting.
I actually tactily touch things very much.
Well,
Oh,
and then
and
here's
that's
another
alien.
thing to break your noodle. If you normally don't touch things in dreams, but you touched something in that dream, does that
Yeah.
mean it wasn't a dream?
Oh, dude, I have no idea. I don't know.
Oh, dude.
Oh, sorry, just
Poor
breaking the
Nick.
poor guy's reality.
I know.
I
Oh.
know.
Alien abductions, not again. Come on.
It's only Monday.
That's
I'm already
right.
being abducted.
Yeah.
Wait till Wednesday or something?
Yeah, usually it's right after Survivor on Thursday night.
Survivor.
That's
Yeah,
not.
we
There's
have an
nothing on
agreement.
TV. You're not doing anything else. You're fine.
Right, exactly.
My mom loves that show. She loves
Every
it.
mom
'Cause
loves
she's
that show.
well, no, but my mom's like legit tough. Like she can make fire whenever she wants. She's hardcore like that. But once she watches them struggle and they're all like talking about how awesome they are, she just laughs maniacally. It's just so
Yeah, I
sad
bet.
but good. Mm.
I do have one technique though for you.
Yes.
Light switches, and I think it works along the same line as like language and time. Because
Mhm.
lights and electricity are complex logic systems.
Right.
So higher order thought that went into making them, and that goes away. But if you're like in an enclosed space, which I really haven't been in my dreams, like it's always outdoors, whether it be in a city or a forest, flip a light switch, and if it doesn't, if the light's on, you flip it off, and it doesn't turn off, you can take your next reality check and see if you're
Right.
dreaming or not.
Right. Well, and I think the biggest issue is that like all of these reality checks sound well and good, but like as you said, sometimes there's no light switch. Sometimes there's no clock. Sometimes there's no book. Sometimes there's nothing to touch. So it's like it's like you really have to be on it. Like if the opportunity presents itself, you have to be very aware in your dreams. Like, oh, I see a table over there. Let me touch it and see if it's real. Or, oh, there's a light switch right here in the middle of the forest for some reason. Let me go try to turn this on. You know?
Oh, interesting though, because all these steps are like ways to, like you were saying, interact with your environment. So if it's a dream, what makes it a dream is that. Sorry, now I'm just gonna like make nonsense that sounds really like intense to me, but it's not gonna come off that way. But you know what I mean? Like you're right.
No,
Like,
that
when
is the crux of this show. You know that. Right?
Yeah. Well, you didn't have to say that.
But, yeah, we don't take ourselves that seriously.
But you know what I mean? Like, 'cause, like when I dream, you're right. Like I'm just walking around. I'm never doing stuff. And if I am doing stuff like eating a burger, I'm waking up out of the dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like about how you interact with your reality, maybe.
I do know more experienced lucid dreamers they won't know they're in a dream and they'll try to go somewhere. Like, oh, let me go test that light switch. And due to their experience, they just fly over there. And like, oh, I am in a dream.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So they've
So-
taken that next step.
Is
Yeah, see,
astral projection the same as lucid dreaming then?
There's a little bit less. Well, okay. So astral projection is happening in your waking time. Lucid dreaming is probably a cousin to astral projection, and you probably go to the same. You probably go to the same place, in all actuality. But yes, one astral projection would be technically in your waking time. You are in a meditative state, but you're technically still awake.
So maybe for like the next month, we should all text each other when we remember to do reality checks. And then that way we hold each other accountable. And then in a month from now, we'll revisit and have a 30-minute like check-in post about lucid dreaming. I want to experience it and
How
know
are you
that
gonna
I'm doing it.
micromanage our dreams like that, huh?
I
Yeah,
guess,
what are
I
you
don't know,
doing?
yeah.
She's like,
Next thing
okay,
she
we're gonna
likes
have
to-
Monday
Science,
through Friday.
man.
There's gonna be
Yeah.
a schedule.
I'm
just gonna
using the
delegate the
scientific
work and
method.
say,
We're
Nick,
gonna.
You're being so type A about such something so abstract.
we're gonna want timestamps. Timestamp.
Clock in,
Dream
guys.
timestamp.
That's right. I want the text
Oh my gosh.
receipts on, so I know that you guys got my text messages.
It says red.
That's right.
Can we make some shirts that say Dream Time? I think that was a really great little like Dream Time.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I'll make an Exofathom Dream shirt soon, anyway. So yeah, for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a really fun conversation, you guys. I don't know if I have anything else to add. Do you guys want to add anything else before we wrap up?
Oh yeah.
Go
So
for it.
I was listening to a short podcast, maybe last week before the last episode, and I didn't get to work this in, but a couple other tips that they mentioned was in addition to this kind of like reality check work, you also want to make sure that you're dreaming deeply. And so he was saying to try taking melatonin. Wait, melanin or melatonin?
Melatonin. You had it right.
Melatonin. The other day I was like, you gotta take melanin tablets. And Nick's like, what? Because I'm white?
Yep.
I was like, no.
Yeah. It happens all the time. Don't worry.
But you know, so after I heard that, I ordered some, and I've been taking melatonin before bed for the last week or two. And let me say, my dreams have become really vivid. I need to write them down, but I remember dreams about bears. I was in the forest. I was in a cabin. There's people. There's like a group setting. There's a whole lot of stuff happening. So I think melatonin can definitely help you just dream deeper and get that REM sleep. And I think I mentioned when I had that Fitbit, I realized that I was like awake for 4 hours a night. And then like there were some nights I never hit REM sleep. And so the melatonin, I think, is helping correct that. The guy also recommended 5-HTP, which is a vitamin. And let me just put a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. This is just kind of stuff I've been toying around with. But the 5-HTP, I was actually already taking it as just like a mood relaxer because of the pandemic. And I really liked it. But he said if you take it before you go to bed, it can help spark your dreams and relaxation.
It's an MAO inhibitor, right?
Yeah, I think it's something. Yeah, it's something that helps your serotonin production. So
Right.
it just helps things kind of move along. And then the other thing he suggested was magnesium at the end of the day, because magnesium kind of it's like it calms your body tension. So if you wake up your muscle tone, yeah, like you get more relaxed if you take magnesium at night, or you could take an Epsom salt bath, get really like calm in your body. So those are 3 things just in terms of if you want to try lucid dreaming, you should probably also make sure that you're really sleeping well. So those would be my 3 tips.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely give those a shot, ladies and gentlemen. Mike, what do you got?
Indeed. Mine is more on the hypnagogic hallucinations. If you're interested in that, I would start with learning how to meditate. Pick whatever variant you want. Mine was Zen meditation for the most part when I was meditating in that wake state. And then once you get good at that, meaning you can either clear your mind completely and sit in that empty state, or follow the flow of your mind's thoughts all the way up until the end. Do that in bed. Don't take the same body position, take your normal resting position, and practice the same meditation. I kind of err on the side of emptying my mind completely. And that's when I started to get those very strong hypnagogic experiences. If you attempt to do this stoned or anything like that, just understand that what it's going to feel like is like rock climbing up a tectonic plate in the middle of an earthquake.
Right.
So things are going to slide, things are going to shift. If you roll with it, you can still do it. It's just a lot
Your
harder.
brains are going to kind of be scrambled egg.
Yeah, it just takes more work. But
Totally.
it's definitely achievable.
Right.
So I was
right.
like closing my eyes as you were talking. I was like thinking to myself, like, as I'm listening to you, but I was also like, I wonder if we could sell some ASMR from Mike. And then you mentioned the falling tectonic plates, and I was like, wait, no.
Well, it wasn't
void again.
completely calm. Just don't get stoned before you do it, or be good at it. I don't know.
That's right.
Guys, don't do drugs.
There you go. All
Do
right.
melatonin. Did I get it right? Melanin?
Yeah, no,
Melatonin.
you
Melatonin.
always get it right the first time and then say melanin. So make a note of it.
Okay. Noted.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. I have a couple things to wrap up with. So our next episode, we're going to be introducing a new series I'm calling the Deity Series. This won't be something that we'll be doing every week, but it's something that we're going to pepper into all the rest of our episodes whenever we feel like it, whenever we get inspired to. What we're aiming to do with this is basically take a look at deities across culture, across the world, across time, and kind of dissect the personality of that deity, the folklore of that deity, and try to find parallels and metaphor in there. And then maybe how we can kind of connect these deities together. Because if you're a fan of Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces, there is a lot of connection between all the major deities of the world. And it's kind of like the same story recycled over and over again. So we thought it would be very fascinating if we could start to look at these gods and look at the correlations and connections that they might have with each other, as well as the lessons that they teach us and the parables and all of that good stuff. So we really hope that you'll join us for next week's installation of the Deity series. We will be talking about the big daddy of the Greek pantheon, the lightning god himself, Zeus. And I know from personal experience, being a Greek history nerd, Zeus is one of the more entertaining characters in the Greek pantheon. He's got a lot of flaws, and I find that fascinating. So we really hope you'll join us for that next week.
And
then
comment on the gods that you want to hear about too.
Certainly, yes. We'll be definitely doing not just Greek gods, but we want to get through the whole gamut and represent
All the gods.
Yeah, well, I want to represent all of cultures and that kind of stuff and what interests us. So hopefully you'll take that ride with us next week. Want to do a little bit of promo on the back end here. Thank you so much for listening to Exofathom. We are a part of the Thinkering Podcast Network. You can check us out on Facebook at Thinkering Talks and on YouTube at Thinkering Space. You can also follow us at Exofathom on Instagram / Exofathom, all one word. We also have the Exofathom Facebook page, all one word again. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode of If Numbers Can Talk by our co-host in Thinkering, Keelan. And we're going to also have an episode of The Plank with Joe at some point this week as well. And back with Thinkering on Sunday. So we're going to have a lot of content for you guys this week. And we got some more things in the works. Might be doing a giveaway for all the subscribers of the Thinkering Network. So if you're not a subscriber yet, please feel free to do so, because I will be toiling away in my shop to make a really beautiful Tonto knife that I'm going to be giving away to one of our followers. So please consider giving us a subscription on our YouTube, follow us on our Facebook pages, and once we hit 50 subs, we will be working that giveaway to give somebody some random fan a nice, awesome, cool knife. So please stay tuned. And again, thank you so much for listening. You guys are awesome. Stay out there, you cognonauts, and we will catch you on the next Exofathom. Good night, guys.